Chapter 18. Starting Right. When wounded hearts learn to connect. Gaylord and Myrtle had both been working on their attachment wounds for years. Gaylord, with his avoidant tendencies, had learned to pull back at the first hint of emotional intensity. Myrtle, with her anxious patterns, had learned to chase reassurance and anticipate abandonment. Both were driven by fear. He feared engulfment, she feared being left behind. But they had done the work of noticing it, naming it, and trying not to let it control them. They had crossed paths several times at a mutual friend's house, sharing polite conversation and small laughter, but nothing had clicked. Over time, they started meeting for dinner, first casually, then intentionally. By the second dinner, they were comfortable enough to share small stories about past relationships and the lessons they'd learned about themselves. On a random whim, their conversation turned to attachment, emotional growth, and self-awareness. "Wait, you've done that too?" Myrtle said, surprised. "I thought I was the only one paying attention to this stuff." Gaylord laughed easily. "Nope, I track my reactions like a spreadsheet," he joked, but relief passed between them. They realized someone else understood the effort it took to show up consciously in a relationship. By the third dinner, the conversation shifted deeper. They admitted moments when fear had controlled their past actions, and together they made a conscious, mutual decision. They would step forward and risk vulnerability at the same time. Not one chasing, not one retreating, but both agreeing to meet in the tension, in the fear, in the uncertainty. It was deliberate, spoken, and mutual. We'll show up, we'll be seen, together. Early in the relationship, however, the first real test came. Gaylord disappeared for 3 days. No messages, no responses. Myrtle's anxious attachment went into overdrive. She texted 15 times, each ping of her phone fueling panic. Did I say something wrong? Is he mad? Is this over? Her nervous system spun, heart racing, stomach tight. She tried to breathe, tried to reason, tried to wait, but the fear felt overwhelming. When Gaylord finally returned, he explained, work had taken over. He had needed space to reset, and he hadn't meant to trigger fear. Myrtle, still raw, took the time to read and reread his words. They talked that evening. Careful, deliberate, vulnerable. Gaylord acknowledged the impact of disappearing, and Myrtle named the panic she had felt. They repaired, not perfectly, but fully enough to rebuild trust. That moment became a quiet lesson. Anticipatory avoidance and anxious escalation could happen, but repair and presence were possible if both were committed. Their interactions after that were full of human moments. Gaylord fidgeted with the edge of his napkin when Myrtle asked about a sensitive topic. Myrtle laughed nervously when admitting she sometimes spirals if she doesn't hear back quickly. They named these moments aloud, noticed their nervous systems reacting, and chose presence instead of retreat. Boundaries and pacing became part of the rhythm. They agreed to meet a few times a week, keeping space for their own lives, knowing that pushing too fast would trigger old fears. Emotional honesty was encouraged in small doses. "I worry I might overwhelm you," Myrtle admitted one evening. Gaylord nodded, stiff at first, then said, "I hear you. I want to stay, even if it's uncomfortable for me." Small rituals emerged. Walking together after dinner, pausing when either felt nervous system tension, and learning to tolerate silence. All of it became practice. "I feel tense, but I'm staying," Gaylord would say. "My mind is racing, but I want to stay too," Myrtle would reply. Naming fear made it manageable because it wasn't invisible. They discovered moments of joy in the mundane, grocery shopping together, sharing coffee on the porch, hearing each other talk about work or favorite movies. Ordinary experiences became extraordinary because they were fully present. Subtle signals of connection, the way they mirrored each other's breathing or posture, the way they noticed micro-reactions, were powerful reminders that they were learning together. By the time weeks had passed, their nervous systems had begun learning something new. Old reflexes, pulling back, clinging, overanalyzing, still whispered, but they no longer dictated behavior. Each step forward was intentional, mutual, and conscious. They were learning that being fully seen didn't mean losing themselves. It didn't mean chaos or rejection. It meant presence, connection, and the courage to risk together. And that's the essence of starting right. Two wounded hearts meeting, noticing fear, naming it, and choosing, together, to step into vulnerability. Not perfectly, not flawlessly, but consistently with awareness and with the courage to stay.